I think we can get started. More people keep joining in. I hope everybody can see the shared screen as well.
Loud and clearly, Satwick.
Perfect. So our main purpose of today's webinar was, the channel that's working for most of us in BD today uh, is cold calling. Email has its all set of unique challenges right now, from deliverability to just the amount of spam and automation there is right now. And as the importance of cold calling is growing even more, there's a lot of new stuff coming in from AI, questions on how to do that, power dialers, combination of those things. So the idea was to look at where cold calling has been till now, how it's been run till now, and what we are seeing together as the future of cold calling, especially with, in the context of power dialers and leveraging AI within cold calling itself. If you look at the current state, most of the AI stuff is being used. The output is primarily email, whereas that's not where our meetings are coming from. So thought was get experts like Alan and Jan who are in the trenches doing this, and discuss together where we are right now in the cold calling state, and how do we, what does the future state look like? How are early adopters already leveraging AI within cold calling? What we're calling is cold calling 2.0. Let me introduce Alan and Jan. Alan, over to you.
All right, let's start. All right, thank you for the intro and for giving us the agenda. My name is Alan. Well, I'm super happy to be here, and let's start with the most important thing, right? That is to understand where we are. Well, I don't know if you're jumping, or if you want, I can present myself and then we can connect that with Jan. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Alan, I don't think you need a further introduction.
So yeah, my background is pure sales B2B. I started working in sales more than 11 years ago as a junior SDR, so making calls and calls and calls. So this is something that I have mixed feelings. I love it and I hate it at the same time. So I think that we are related to that every day. And right now I'm working as a consultant. I help companies, startups, and scale up businesses to leverage different methodologies to basically grow their business, mainly with cold calling, cold email, and multi-channel strategies within outbound and inbound as well. So I'm super happy to join you guys and at least share a couple of ideas on how we can make cold calling a little bit more pleasant when we are doing it, right? So yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, my name is Jan. When I met Alan, I think it was a year ago or something, online, I just followed his content and we became really good friends. So when Satwick, you asked us to join this, I of course said yes. For me, cold calling, I think like a lot of us, you just had to do it. I applied for a business development role in my first role, and we had no CRM. We just had a cold calling list of 100 people, and we needed to call 100 connected calls every day. So what you basically had to do is to call every single person every day until they pick up. So that was my first role. Our KPI was 10 connected calls, so 10 conversations an hour. So that's how I started. It worked really well, but of course, it's not really sustainable in the long run, right? You will burn out at some point. So let's talk about how we can make it a bit smarter. But otherwise, I work as an account executive, enterprise account executive at Pleo. Just like you, just came from a call. They were trying to sign the quote, but I cannot. So I will, after this, jump back to finally sign the quote. So I'm really excited to hear about more from you guys, also how you're doing it, and share some of the mistakes I have maybe done, so that you don't need to do them again.
I'll give a short introduction of myself as well. I'm one of the co-founders at Evabot. And this topic is very close to home because I run our entire, GTM and BizDev team as well. When we started the company, I was the first, SDR, AE, salesperson all rolled into one. Started off initially with lots of cold emails. I realized that Like, I think I emailed about for 6 months without getting a response, and then bumped into a salesperson at one of the mixers, and he said, just pick up the phone and start dialing. And you will get not just better responses, but you will also learn what to actually write in the email. So hopefully you get a response there. That's how I got started. And then as we scale our team, this became something very important to us, like how to crack the code on this, how to make a process out of it. And then we started, building our product, Evabot around this to help with the challenges as well. Coming to the current state of cold calling, I think all of us have seen the numbers really take a tumble. Jan, you mentioned when you started off, you could have 100 people list and hope to connect to 10 of them if you dial all day long, just to 100 people. Uh, what we are seeing now between mobile number challenges, people working from home, the office numbers no longer being a reliable source to contact people, connect rates are like plummeting. Even when we look at our own data for our own SDR team, about a year ago, 18 months ago, our average connect rates were like comfortably in the region of like 12%, 14%, uh, dial to connect. And now on a good week, uh, with connection boosts and changing numbers and all of that optimization and running it, for mobile only, and hot numbers to pick up, like all of that combined is yielding somewhere between 5 to 8% connect rates. What are you guys seeing on this part?
And maybe Alan, for you it's a bit different because you own your own full cycle. But for us, it's the same. Like we have set account lists, so set target lists. So in the beginning of the year, you get assigned a territory of specific accounts and you go after them. And what you don't want to do is to burn them, because if you burn them in the beginning of the year, you won't be able to close them in the end of the year. So you need to be really strategic about that, on how you call, whom you call first, which information you're getting. So you're taking a below the line approach, right? You first engage sale to finance, so first to the finance managers, or do I go directly to the board and then go down to the CFO? So it's really interesting strategies, but it's the same. I think what you need to do is to be relevant in the cold call. Like, why are you reaching out? Because when you have a relevant reason, so I try to always focus on two things: why change, and why is it relevant now? If you're able to answer those three questions, the cold call actually becomes fun and interesting. And then the people are way more likely to actually engage in a conversation with you. But it's, of course, not easy, right? That's why we are speaking today. Yeah. How's it for you, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I think that there are two main things, or there is a combination of on two factors that are having a clear impact on why cold calling still works. For sure, it works, but it's harder than ever. Two main things. First one, or the first pillar, if you want to call it that way, are the soft skills, right? You know that in a startup, time is money. And as a founder, as a CEO, or as a sales manager or VP of sales, you are telling your reps, hey, you have to cold call. I'm not going to train you. For sure, this is a generic insight, but this is what I'm seeing with some clients that I'm working with.
You don't have for me when I started.
Exactly. You don't have the resources to help your sales reps to perform well, or either you are not training them in the right way, either they have quotas that there are no ways that they can achieve, or different factors. And the problem is that if you don't have those skills, soft skills, like how to start a conversation, what is the objective of the cold call, how to run a smooth conversation, how to handle objections, as someone is saying in the chat, how to follow a conversation, there's no way that you can make it relevant and hyper qualified in terms of then book a meeting afterwards. First of all, the second point, it's as a human, we are lazy, right? And all these AI solutions that I encourage people to use them and to embrace them and to leverage them for sure. What is happening is that either if we are talking for cold calling, but even for email and for DMs, you can, with one click, send thousands and thousands and thousands of emails, right? Right now, with power dialers, and a difference with what you were saying, Jan, that you had to make 100 calls per day. Right now, if you are disciplined, you can make 250 calls per day. So more than twice what you were, or 500 calls per day. I don't know. Like the number is insane. What happened? You scale the volume, and sometimes, or most of the time, I would say, people or companies think that because you are doing more, you will get better results. And that's not exactly linear. So what is going on is that you have poor soft skills, you are calling this amount of people. The equation is, if you are calling more people, still with poor skills of conversational skills, that doesn't mean that will impact your booking rate, right? And on top of that, because you are calling a lot of people and hundreds of companies are doing the same, people are blocking cold callings or cold callers. So the connection rate is going down. So it's like a formula for disaster, basically. And that's why we need to see how we can scale the process to make more cold calls at the same time of being better at cold calling and more relevant when we have the conversation. And this is where the magic happens. And that's why it's difficult, right?
Absolutely. In fact, as you said, the fact that, see, some things we won't be able to control. I think with power dialers, people will get more and more dials, and connect rates most likely will keep either reducing or maybe, staying where they are on the lower end, unlikely that they are going to increase. Therefore, like when you do get the connect, in that moment, being able to capitalize on it and make it work and not flub it, or not lose the opportunity, either because the conversation was not relevant, the talking points were not relevant, or the initial skills, conversational skills were lacking. The price becomes very heavy to pay, more than ever. Like earlier, you could say, okay, one bad call, no worries, I'll dial them again. As Jan said, now the opportunity, once you've missed it a couple of times, you may never get the chance again to talk to them. Who knows?
Absolutely.
So
It's funny that you say that, because I just changed my phone provider, so my private number is now in the list of real estate agents. So I get like 10 cold calls a day, and it's quite nice because you get to hear different scripts, and they always start with, "Hey, are you living in X, Y, and Z apartment?" And you can so clearly hear this is a scripted script, right? Because everybody's using the same. So I frankly enjoy them. But some are just so bad where you can hear like, "Hey, insert name, apartment number, insert apartment number. How are you doing today?" Right? So I think when we come to some cold call stories, we're also curious to hear what you are doing and hearing right now. But you really find great stories. Either they go two ways, right? Either you get destroyed. I remember that I posted about it, I think yesterday. The guy completely destroyed my phone. So it was a prospect, and you in the morning, you always get the opens. We had sales off at the time, so you would always open 2 times, and you get super excited, right? I even sent a video. They clicked the video 7 times. So I called the guy after that, and you think you have him, right? You're so sure that, they forward this, they love it, blah, blah, blah. And the guy completely destroyed me. Like he told me I had some references that were valid in my email as well. He had emailed all the companies, and apparently they didn't know about us. So he said like that I'm infringing and lying in my email. So he completely destroyed me. So that's what happened to me. I was really really sad about that. But then there are other stories that can happen. I was really innocent when I started. So the person I called, she immediately hang up on me. I was like, "Hey, this is Jan from Pleo," and she just hang up for me. But I thought the connection dropped. So I double dialed her. I was like, "Hey, listen, I think our connection just dropped." And then we had a really laugh about it. He said to me, "No, I was just hanging up because I don't want to call you." And then I came in and said, "Hey, listen, don't you want to hear why I called you? I have a pretty good reason." And then we actually had booked a meeting, and became of the largest deals that the AE ever closed. So it's really funny on how coincidence play a role in those stories. I don't know about
persistence.
yeah. Sometimes you just gotta be naive. I don't know about you, Alan, Leon, Sachet, Pim, a few of other stories to share.
I mean, I have one that I think that I'm thinking backwards, and the moral of the story, well, I will tell you at the end, basically, but the story is something that I guess that all of us feel related with, that it's basically picking up the phone, calling someone, and whenever the prospect picks up, I did two things that killed the conversation. That it's, first of all, asking if the person is that person, right? Like, hey, is this Jan? Okay, I mean, if you don't know who you're calling, at least pretend that you know, right? So in your prospect mind, it's okay, someone is calling me, they are trying to sell me something, and in the first moment that I pick up, they are asking if I'm that person, first of all. So first mistake, I was pretty innocent at the beginning. And the second point, and here is where the magic happens in terms of the lesson learned from my side, was that, okay, yes, you're the prospect told me, yes, I'm Jan. And I was like, oh, great to connect. So sorry for bothering you. It will be just a minute. I promise you, I'm not selling anything here, but I want to tell you, blah, blah, blah. And I started pitching for sure, right? So he made a hard stop and started insulting me. And then he asked me, hey, where did you get my information? Who are you? And how do I know that you represent the company that you're saying you represent? And it was like, I freezed out, to be honest. He started insulting me, so I hung up. So the lesson learned was, hey, you know what? Never start a conversation apologizing or putting yourself in an inferiority level. If you're why that happened? Because as I was saying before, I had no idea what I had to do. I had no idea how to start a conversation, and I had no idea what trigger or what relevant information should I use in order to make the conversation really pleasant for the prospect. I just wanted to pitch my product, so I started, hey, is this you? Yes. Okay, so listen to me, because I have to hit a quota. And there's not going to happen, right? So what I did after that was send an email to this guy saying, hey, I'm so sorry, I freezed up. You started insulting me. You wanted to make sure who I am. Here is an email from the company, corporate email, just to make sure that you know who I am. I won't bother you again. Sorry for that. I was like, that day I stopped calling. I think that was my third call of the day and my last one. And the lesson was that, like, hey, I need to become better, not only in the soft skill of how to have a conversation as a seller, but also what I need to say, right? I don't need to speak about myself. I don't need to be apologizing. These people are not my friend. I need to have a pleasant conversation that they want to hear. So then I can book a meeting and start my sales process, right? So yeah, I mean, I can count hundreds of stories, but this is one that I have in my heart that taught me something at the beginning, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, Alan, how it was, at least how I got taught it, like I identify too much with being a salesperson. And what I mean by that is that you call and you just blast out the script that you learn. And you don't listen. Right? Like,
Yep.
hey, Satwick, this is what we do. And you were just so happy that you could say the script. And this is what happens a lot of times, at least when I started, was like, hey, here's the script, like, you got to learn this by heart. I mean, Sasha, I see you smiling. Probably the same happened to you as well, but like, you just blast it out. And I think that's something we need to be aware of, that like, it's a goddamn conversation, right? And you're eye to eye, especially as a junior rep. Like most of us, we start with cold calling as a junior position. It's hard, man. Like I got so scared. I'm calling the German Mittelstand, like it's all like family owned, fifth generation corporations. They hate it, right? But you know, when you have a good reason and you actually can help, then becomes a whole different conversation. I'm curious to jump into this a little bit later, but I just had to jump in because that's a script, right? And you read it and then you think, now it's going to bite, right?
I was reading the book. We have a question here in the crowd from Diego Armando. And Diego says, how can you avoid being invasive with cold calls? I consider that in LATAM, it is not used to have this approach, but rather by email or WhatsApp. That's a great question, Diego. If you want, I can take this one as I'm coming from LATAM.
I'll go ahead.
And, I don't know, Diego, who are you selling or what specifically are you selling as a solution? But I can tell you that my experience, I'm originally from Argentina. I live in Spain. My experience is digital solutions. Great. It's selling to the US and Europe mainly. But I had my full background in Latin America. And what I learned is that for sure the cultural aspect matters a lot. There's no way that you can sell the same to someone, for example, team in Atlanta to a person in Singapore or in London. It's not the same, or in Spain, in the south of Spain, right? So the same happens with Latam. What I would do, again, there's no one way to, there's no one magic formula, and this is the beauty of sales. You can put out there as many strategies as you want. But what I would do is, hey, if cold calling for my services and the people that I'm reaching out is not the best channel because of whatever the factor that you know, what I would do is leverage WhatsApp or email by calling people. So you use one channel to empower the other channel. For example, saying, well, I'm thinking in Spanish right now, but I will do it in English. But something like, hey, Diego, hey, you hate this call as much as I do. If you're calling someone in Argentina, for example, or in Chile, or in Brazil, or in Colombia, and you're saying, hey, Diego, or in Mexico, hey, Alan, I hate, this is a sales call, or this is a cold call. I'm calling you out of the blue. You weren't expecting my call, and I hate doing this call as much as you receiving it. Just wanted to let you know that I send you a WhatsApp with blah, blah, blah about a specific topic or a specific action. If you want, we can make it there. So I can call you either on WhatsApp or send some audio on WhatsApp. Latin America, it's WhatsApp 100%. Everything happens through WhatsApp. It's like WeChat in China, right? So I would strongly recommend something like that. I don't know, but you have to test that, right? Let me know if this addresses the questions a little bit.
Yeah.
Hope it.
And then you speak to me, and I call to Germany. I'm say, please don't apologize. This is a cold call. Just don't say it is a cold call, because everybody knows it's a cold call, right? You don't need to say I'm the devil, because you know when you're the devil. So it's really depending on where you sell it to. But I think you, I think Victor, thank you for a comment. The most important thing is that you are yourself. Because if you're not yourself in a sales conversation or in a call, they will smell it. Like, prospects are not stupid. They're just you and me. And maybe someday you get the opportunity to buy yourself, like to buy yourself software or to get cold called. And the difference is that people are relaxed, they are calm, they make jokes, and they are really comfortable in themselves. And being comfortable and confident comes from feeling competent. And you need to have this feeling of being competent and add actual value, like have a significant reason why you reach out. And I think that's what we're going to jump into now, how you can get this feeling for yourself, because then it won't matter. Then you can apologize. Then you can say it's not a cold call. You can say whatever. But if you find your own way, and unfortunately, you only have to find it out by yourself. That's the big part of growing up. You need to figure it out by yourself. But this is actually my biggest tip, that work on your tone of voice. Like, I always think about calling my little brother. When I'm calling a fierce CFO, I think this is Simon, my little brother. How would I talk to him? Hey, how was the weekend? How was the match? Blah, blah, blah. Then my voice also goes down because I'm having a conversational voice. If I would be scared, like, my voice goes up, it goes pitchy. Then you can feel the insecurity and everything. So my tip to you guys is, think about a person you like or you're familiar with. Think this is this person. Like, you can block out the name in the CRM, and write the name of your, I don't know, your brother, your sister, whatever, and then go and have a conversation. This really helped me.
Two more. That's awesome, Jan. I just wanted to compliment with two more things that we have in the comments, and then we can move forward if you want. Satwick, are you okay with that?
And by the way, I just want to say it's great. Please write your comments into this, right? Like, this is your time. Keep them coming.
Yeah, it's amazing that we can make it super dynamic. So we have Victor. I know Victor. It's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. Victor comes from Digital Web Solutions, and he's saying that the biggest issue he's going through right now is people not picking up the phone in Europe. And once they pick, they are really rude. So regarding the picking up the phone, there are many factors that we can analyze, either which number are you using, who are you calling to, if the numbers are correct. Well, there are more technicalities here, and that's tough for sure. In terms of whenever they pick up, they are rude. Again, there are a lot of factors that we cannot control. And exactly as Jan was mentioning before, if you have the competence, again, we go back to soft skills, right? If you have a real reason why you, why now, and what to say, I'm missing someone. I'm missing one question, Jan. Why now? Why you? And
Why you? Why
Why
change? Why now?
what changed? Yeah, what to change? Basically, it's important to try to put it in the easiest wording and the most impactful wording as possible at the beginning of the conversation, because the attention span that a human has right now in a cold call, it's not more than 8 or 9 seconds. So
Yep.
it's a really tough one. And then I strongly recommend what Andreas is saying, that it's a really good tip, Andreas, that it's, instead of having a script, you just write down in like a little note 2 or 3 main things that you want to address in the call, like a specific pain point that you know that this guy has, or a specific solution that you know that these companies are looking for, something that you know that will be relevant. But what is happening when you are not following the script, but you know the topics that you need to cover, is that every conversation, it's a new conversation, it's different, and you don't follow like a robot. So great advice, man.
Before we move ahead, I'll have to call out something that Jan said, and Alan, you seconded it as well. The the tone of voice is so important, how confident you feel. And as Jan said, if you're prepared well, that gives you the confidence, right? So if when those people are picking up, I think Victor, you mentioned this in your comment. Uh, if you are if the people are picking up the phone and they're rude in that moment, or they're not responding, part of that is also how our tone comes through. If it comes off as a telemarketing seller, then the natural reaction of people is just put the phone down. uh, but if we feel confident and we have a clear reason to talk and we are able to bring that up quickly enough, then it makes a whole world of difference to the conversation itself. Uh, One thing we have seen, again, to the question, Victor, you had, if it's like just like Alan said, you can buttress one channel with the other. So if email is working, then you can use cold calls to highlight the email or highlight the WhatsApp message. You can do it the other way around as well. Like one thing our team has been doing is, especially for senior folks, before doing a cold call to them, we have a rule of at least 3 touch points, like 3 usual LinkedIn comments, uh, to engage with that person, have some visibility with them, and then try and cold call them, so that when the connection happens, you can reference to the post, you can reference to the comment, and hopefully that leader has seen it as well, because LinkedIn comments are far more engaging than, say, a direct message. Oh, nice. Love that, Victor.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's awesome. But as you were saying, Sadwick, I think that at the end of the day, and there is something, I don't remember exactly the numbers, and we can move on in the cold calling 1.0, but from the book Never Split the Difference from Christopher Boss, I know that everyone heard that name before. He mentioned, and it's studied, that it's more important how we say things than what we say, basically. Yeah. So in cold call, tone and pace, it's important. If you have a prospect that speaks really fast, there is no way that you speak really slow, right? And the other way around, you have to match them. It's like matching and mirroring, the same. And if you're in a demo call or someone that is seeing you, your body language is even more important on how you say things and what you say and what you say, basically. So it's really, really important to combine all the factors, not just what it's going out from your mouth, but also how you say that and your body language as well. But yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, and especially with cold calling, one at the way it's done right now, I think so little, because the volume of dialing, especially when you combine cold calling 1.0, with
Power
power
dialers.
dialers, if you're doing it without it, per dial, the time it takes is so hard. And you again need to figure out, like, uh, given the biggest challenge today being most people are not necessarily in their office, and therefore, like, the office desk number is kind of out of commission. It's a pure uh, round of luck on those numbers, and mobile number data is still limited. Like, even with Zoom Info or Apollo and all the other solutions, not only is it expensive, but like best case scenario, I have seen coverage of what, 30%, 35% of your prospect list. Will you get a active mobile number that's not barred from calling? Uh, and therefore, like it becomes so much more harder to keep like dialing manually to this limited set of numbers. You don't want to burn it. Uh, and when you try and go and do like any research on them beforehand, it becomes such a difficult thing to balance the time you want to spend, because again, especially when you know people may not pick up, it's frustrating. I spent 20 minutes researching this, making this perfect thing, and then call them 5 times, nobody picked up. So
Yeah,
I
so
should not do it anymore.
I can share an anecdote. So what we had, sorry, what we had when I started, we didn't have a CRM, right? I just got the used MacBook of the ex-girlfriend of my founder. And we would sit every Thursday, order pizza, and then everybody had the goal to find out 10 numbers from the website.
Wow.
Because that was our basic, like we spent like 2 hours to find the numbers, right? It was like pure dog work, so to say. And then of course there were office numbers, right? You're lazy on a Thursday evening, right? So you find the office numbers and then you go home. But this is what we did. So there's really a point, and as also especially I think we had a comment on what do you advise as a young sales rep. I think Ayanda is you just get stuck in the easy work, and that's doing the research, and then you have done one cold call and did research for 18 hours, right? We all know this meme, right? Preparing for the cold call, doing the cold call, recovering from the cold call, right? And this is what happens. So you need to get into the flow, you need to get into the mindset. So let's check out what's waiting for us on the next slide, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah, this old style, I mean, what we're seeing is numbers like you're dialing 1,000 people, you're getting maybe 5% connect, 50 people you get connected to. Most of them people don't move forward, like less than 10%
Yeah.
connect to conversation. So you're now down to five five real conversations. And now the pressure is, well, you better get at least one or two of them into meetings, otherwise that whole day is bust.
Yeah.
So this is where, again, I think the first solution that came through to solve for this was let's add, power dialers to this context. Because if dialing, 1,000 numbers is barely getting you, it used to take what, a whole week to dial 1,000, maybe a month sometimes to dial 1,000 dials before power dialers. And then if you are down to 5 conversations, the pressure is too much. The first solution I think we saw was that people started coming in with power dialers right here. Uh, but before we get to the power dialer part, Alan, what are the numbers you guys are seeing, and others on the in the conversation here? What kind of numbers are you guys seeing in your cold calling structures today? Are most of you facing similar conversion challenges? 1,000 dials to get to maybe a 4 or 5 conversations?
I got tired just for reading the previous slide. All the steps that you need to go through, I mean, that's overwhelming. So Ayana, be with us. It's a hard job to do, but it's really rewarding. So welcome to the club. Answering to your question, Satwick, I think that based on my experience, for example, in the last role as I was as a sales manager for the South of Europe, regional manager there at Revolut, basically we had a challenge that it's not only we didn't have a power dialer itself, we had a dialer for sure, but not a power one. The CRM was really crowded of companies that were prospected by different sales reps at the same time, or in different times, but really close one to the other. So what happens is that you had a super crowded market, burned market at some point, and a lot of people prospecting the same market. So what happened with that? That we had fewer or a little connection rate, really small. And on top of that, we needed to make more calls in order to get ones of those that are connected to a booking meeting booked. Sorry. So as you're putting here, less than 2% of cold calls convert without personalization. I couldn't agree more. I think that even we have more than closer to 1%. And it was really tough because we were focusing at the beginning and then changed with time in volume. And as you mentioned in this example, I don't know if I can draw here. I think that I can here. We offer CRM solutions that can help your company. We are this, we are that. I can help you with this, I can help you with that. And the most common one, I can help you save time and money, right? I mean, we are tired of sales people saying that you can help me save time and money. That's exactly why you build a company in the first place, either to help me with operational things, and that will help me save time. And if I save time, I can do more things and I will save money, or the other way around. So if you tell me that you will help me save time and money, no, you have a problem, not even after connecting, but after having a conversation, because you won't book a meeting. So I would say that this is somehow in some markets pretty generous, the numbers that you're showing here.
I was about to say that, yeah, 2%, I mean, is actually a good benchmark. Like,
yeah,
exactly. Are averaging like 0.5% or 1% in net conversion from dials.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else here who maybe has a better better conversion rates on their cold calls?
For sure, there are some industries and some specific niches that they perform really well because they are unexplored, right? But if you're selling any other fintech in the world or any other SaaS solution for a chatbot or something like that, man, I can tell you, a lot of people are doing exactly the same. So it's tough.
Yeah, and then to solve for that, I think power dialers emerged as a solution, so that, okay, sure, we have a low conversion rate, maybe 1%, maybe less. So what? Let's boost the volumes. Let's dial up the volume and we'll get more meetings that way. But I think power dialers have created their own new set of challenges, and they're coming with a trade-off of your effectiveness is decreasing even more, because now you're not even sure who you're talking to, what gets who are you getting connected to when you're doing parallel dials. How are you guys seeing this, Alan and Jan? I've seen both sides with our customers. There are teams who have bought power dialers, started doing parallel dialing, saw the conversion rates drop even more, and now they're using expensive power dialers to only do parallel dialers to only do like one call at a time while paying for a power dialer seat. How are you guys seeing it?
If you allow me, Jan, I can give a quick reflection and then you can explain
Ramos, my friend, please go. I can't wait, man.
All right. So no, the reflection that I do, we want to see this as the half glass of water full as well, right? There are some pros and cons with this. So this came up as everything as a solution for a problem that we had, right? Power dialers. What happened is that when you are building new things, new problems or challenges will arise. And as you're saying, Satwick, there are some companies that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, and they are not seeing any result, even worse results than before, right? And I know by fact that there are some companies that after implementing power dialers, they had like a drop, but then they did really well. So my perspective is power dialers are really helpful because, as I was mentioning at the beginning, the equation, soft skills plus a lot of volume. If you don't have the soft skills, this is not going to work. But in order to build that soft skill or those soft skills, you need to practice a lot. There's no other way. Practice and practice and practice and learning and practice and doing it again. So what power dialers did is, if you are calling 30 people per day, right now you are calling 250, you are going, if you want, and if you're a good seller, you are going to learn a lot faster because you are hitting your head with the wall with more objections, different objections, how to handle them, etc., etc., etc. So how I see this is power dialers are great because helped us to increase volume. In some cases, helped us to increase skills or develop more skills or upskills the ones that we already have, right? And if you combine those things, then for sure you might have a better outcome or a positive ROI, right? But if you measure everything, what's happening right now, mainly in the SaaS industry, is that how do you say when people the time that people spend in a company average, right?
Tenure.
The tenure. Sorry. The tenure is going down right now. So average tenure for an SDR or AE, it's last year or 2 years ago was around two years. Right now it's 1 year, 1.5 years the most, and this is going down. There's a lot of rotation, there's a lot of turnover, there's a lot of people going from one company to the other, and there's a lot of demand of jumping into SaaS. So what I am 3 years in, come on, man. So what's happening right now, man, you are like a unicorn right now. So
seriously.
yeah, exactly. What's happening right now is that you don't have the time to ramp up as you should ramp, and you have a lot of volume doing things in the wrong way. So it's again the formula for disaster. But again, I think that power dialers, we will explain in a moment with 2.0, are really good if you can complement the other skills that you need to complement. Sorry for the long speech, Jan. I said it was
No,
going to be short.
I think your answer was way better because we don't even use power dialers. I think Pleo is the biggest customer of HubSpot in entire Europe. So we have everything HubSpot. So we are not even there yet, right?
Yeah.
And I see the point. It's just I just think that you burn out the people, right? Like if you put the people through this process, they will leave. They will leave fast, right? So I think I hear a friend talking in the background. No problems. Nice to hear the conversation. No, I think that's just what happens, right? So you need to find this balance between making it nice because you want to keep the talent. Like right now is my best year. Like first year you can't do anything. Second year you learn, and third year you start to play. Then you start to have fun with a prospect. You get comfortable in the process. So that's the only challenge I see with those priorities. Yes, I agree. You get to failure faster, but you also get like the risk of burning out or moving on faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
I mean, I always like to.
You just break the people. You just break the people.
Yeah.
That's
If
what
you
I feel like.
use power dialers to like spray and pray, then yeah, exactly. The risk is you'll burn off the numbers. People will, the moment they hear your voice, they'll put the phone down or just, uh, take you to the cleaners on that one. And then it's even harder because you can't keep finding more companies and more people all the time. I mean, there is a finite number at the end of the day there. What we've seen is like we had a similar experience. Like we switched to a power dialer late last year, and Jan, Alan, as you mentioned, we had a very similar trajectory where initially, while the number of dials, like our team was making about 100 dials a week on an average per rep, and with power dialers we went from 100 per week per rep to like 200 per day per rep. And that was a massive increase. And our expectation was, yeah, here comes the meetings now. Now we're going to have 5 times, 3 times the number of meetings. Life is going to be so awesome. But Alan, as you said, the challenge we saw was that beforehand, before making the dial, the team was like looking at the prospect. They were at least checking their LinkedIn, at least the company website, some basic information. And now with a power dialer, even if you're dialing with like 3 parallel dials, suddenly the person you're getting connected to, you barely have a couple of seconds to just glance at their name, and now you have to go. So the initial results were actually worse because the relevancy of the message actually went down because people were feeling a bit less confident, and they defaulted to the basic pitch instantly instead of the focused one that we had. And it took us some time, and that was actually the prompt for us to start building like AI powered cold calling into Evabot as well. When we had started off, it was focused on emails and LinkedIn, just like most tools are. But when we realized that pain after switching to the power dialer, that's when we started working on like how do we solve this fundamental problem of bringing in insights and opening the conversation with something very strong, because that's where the biggest difference was. So with the new process, like for us, by building this automation, now what we are seeing is you can pull the entire lists, run them through, Most power dialers will also give you now a segmentation for mobile numbers as well as the hot numbers to dial. There are also, third-party services today where you can, using AI, they will dial the numbers out, confirm which ones are getting picked up, and therefore you can have a list of more high probability, higher chance of those calls being picked up. That part, I think, in terms of getting to a better list with AI is making a big difference. We've seen, again, with customers and with our own teams, deploying these filters, and you have them in Apollo, you have them in Zoom Info as well. There are phone leads, a couple of other solutions we'll mention in the chat here and in the follow-up email, where you can send your list and AI can filter through, look at the older data, connection data, also dial automatically and check if the number is being picked up or not. And now you have a higher probability list of people who are more likely to pick up. But the challenge still remained was, if they pick up and you burn it, you make a generic statement, the person puts the phone down, then your next probability is very low. So that's where the research part of it, like as I think Andreas had mentioned earlier, making those notes, keeping them ready, so that when the call connects, you are ready there, becomes very important. Uh, Jan and Alan, anything in this new work, new calling 2.0 workflow that you guys are emphasizing on, or that you are seeing more success with?
I think it brings in
Without
the
power dialers?
relevancy and the confidence, right? Like, you want to have, especially as a junior person, you want to have a significant reason why you're reaching out, because that builds the reason and that builds the anticipation. Because I think cold calling has a super bad rep, because people, like, if you would put the word cold calling in a word, people would have immediately a bad feeling about it. But the honest truth is, a good cold call is so fucking great. Like, have you ever received a really good cold call? And it's usually great because that's actually relevant and they can help and it makes sense. It's a nice conversation. And we need to make the shift towards cold calling. Is pretty fucking amazing because nobody's doing it. It's a skill that it's hard, but if you master it, you will be the top performer. There's no way you're not going to be a top performer. And the beautiful thing of this is, Satwick, what you showed us also in the demo in the office, it's super easy and it builds a specific relevance, just like you're saying, right? I noticed your recent expansion into European market. In my opinion, I would even be more specific.
Yep.
I would find out the markets, but this is what Evabot gives you already. But I would go like, hey, I noticed you're expanding into, maybe you can even find the cities, right? So to make it even more relevant, or I would also take the I out, because I would never start with but I would say you are expanding into X, Y, and Z markets. Usually what I see, or what we see, or what we're curious to find out is it's hard to manage. Then you put in the relevancy of the value prop of the customers, and then you ask a question. I would always ask with a question like, does it resonate to you? Does it sound like your word? And this needs to be spot on. It's like delivering a speech. Like, if you're on the scene, like Alan, you did great in your speech at the AR Circus, but the first sentence needs to be rock solid. Like Satwick,
Yep.
if Ayush wakes you up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m, the first sentence of your cold call needs to be rock solid. There's no flinginess in the voice. It needs to be calm and collected, and these needs to be spot on. And this is the beauty of what Evabot does. And I think, Andreas, you also put out the script that you use. I think you're a bit more advanced. You sound a bit more experienced. But for younger salespeople, I think it makes totally sense to have one sentence that you know by heart that gives you confidence, because it's better to have a structure in the beginning and then you start to play with it. Then you become like, then it turns more into a talk track and everything. You become more flexible. It's like, a samurai, you can, anticipate the moves and the objections, but really have this relevancy in the first sentence that you say, because this will make or break your cold call.
I think
Alan,
that's
yeah.
I think
No,
that's the key. Like what we've seen, and I'm sure Alan can share more about this, but like the secret or the not so secret way of like killing with cold calls and ensuring you hit your quota in Q4 is that for each cold call, you can open with confidence with a very specific insight and a specific question. If that's being done, actually the cold call is great for the recipient. In fact, you're doing them a service because you are going to go and tell them a problem you can solve for them. It's only irritating when it's not helpful. If the cold calling is if that call is helping the recipient, they love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. A tip that I have for any seller, not only for juniors or more experienced sellers, connecting with the call, the script or the framework that you might use, I always tell the same. Hey, you know that you can control volume right now, right? You understand your value proposition. You know that you can make a lot more calls to different people. Why don't you, if there is a possibility, sometimes it's not that easy, it's easy to say, it's not that easy to execute. But what I always recommend as a time management skill or even prioritization of leads is whenever you have a call per power hour block for 1 hour, for example, or 1.5 hours, try to call exactly or the most similar as possible ICP. Why I'm saying this? For example, let's make a clear example or a practical example. Again, going back to Revolut, that everyone knows this as a fintech, right? You are selling fintech solution. Either I was selling to the VP of finance, the CEO, or the financial director. At some point, the treasury manager or treasury director. All of them, depending on the company, the size of the company, the headcount, the industry they are in, etc., they could be the same persona, right? But they have different responsibilities. They are being measured by different KPIs, and they have different fears and emotional things that if you impact those, it's more likely them to drive, for example, an action, right? So how is what's the practical tip that I'm giving here? Instead of just calling randomly a CEO, then a financial director, then the head of HR, then going back to a financial director, you need your brain to connect to these different personas, different pains, different symptoms, different KPIs. Call all of them in the same power hour block. Why? Maybe the first call is not the best, but the third one or the number 10 will be really good because you already have oiled the process of nailing the pain, nailing the solution, and connecting the bridge between where they are and where they want to be, right? So this is a practical tip that I always try to highlight. And regarding the prep script, as you are sharing here, Satwick, and I completely agree with Andreas, the first 1, 2, 3 sentences when you are a newbie, and not only when you are a newbie, are key because that gives you the confidence if someone say, yes, you can continue, or please tell me more, or something like that, and you don't have that first hard objection, that gives you the confidence to keep moving forward, right? And in this case, as you can see, lead with context. Emma, I just finished reading your press release. So this is a trigger, right? I saw that you're hiring SDRs. I noticed that you're expanding into a new market. I know that you started 2 weeks ago, so congrats on that. Whatever it is, make it personal, make it relevant. And then what I really like about this specific framework is what I'm highlighting here. I think that everyone can see this. That is basically in the second line. I'm going to be honest, this is a sales call or this is a call out of the blue, but it's a well-researched one. That is really relevant because you are telling them, hey, I'm taking the time to do this because I know that this is relevant for you, right? And the tone, it's important as well. And then you ask for you use a permission-based opener. Either you can skip this or use another one or a content-based or whatever it is. But hey, if you give me 20 seconds of your time, I might be able to tell you why I call you, and you can tell me if that's relevant for you and we can move on, right? So you make an impact at the beginning, you caught their attention, you let them know that they weren't expecting you, and then you ask for permission so you don't have a hard stop. Once they give you the permission, then there is another first sentence that needs to be super relevant. That it's, hey, usually when opening a new office, if you connect the context with the problem, this happens, right? And you highlight the pain, you highlight the cost of inaction, you highlight the problem. Productivity goes down because you have to build new processes and the team is all over the place, not doing anything. I don't know, right? So is this, am I in the right direction? Is this happening to you? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Then you start handling objections and you keep the conversation going on, right? So this is how I would structure the sequence. And thank you for being my designer. I don't know if it's Jan or you, Satwick.
It's
I
Jan.
appreciate it.
I put out
Awesome.
my artistic side, but I
And
really
you are
like
awesome.
this way on.
Yeah.
Like, do you allow me to tell you why I'm calling you specifically?
Yeah.
You can just say why I'm calling you. Warum ich mich bei Ihnen melde in German, right? Warum ich dich anrufe, oder, right? So you can make it really specific, and then you can be the dentist, right?
Yeah.
So what we
Absolutely.
also would do is to switch with the time. So we would either call before 8, because the decision makers are usually in the car dropping off their kids, or it's the dentist, or whatever, it's the kindergarten, whatever. So they would pick up. So we would actually go earlier 2 times in the office. We would call from 7:30 to 8, and then have breakfast with the team, everybody, and then you get a higher pickup rate because they are driving, they're in the car, blah 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 blah. Also, same in the evening, right? Especially on a Friday. Most of the, like 99.9% of the SaaS companies are stop working at 3. I
On
would
Friday.
say.
Yeah.
You have the all hands, and then you say, ciao, Kakao, right? Then make the calls, man, because they're all happy. They're all happy. It's finally the week, and I finally closed my deal. I finally finished my budget, whatever. Use that goddamn time. So, and you can make it fun, right? Andreas, maybe you're a team lead or whatever. Bring out some beers, bring out some chocolate, whatever, and then make a round of cold call and make it in a room together. Everybody does 3 cold calls before they go in a round. You sit on a big table. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So use that time, and I think what we learn a lot, and I think this is a lesson for young people as well. You gotta enjoy the process. If you don't enjoy the process of making sales, of doing the hard work, you will burn out. But if you find ways to make the process, so what I mean by the process is making a cold call, writing a cold email, negotiating, if you find a way to make it fun, the prospect will hear it. And you can be really creative about it, because yes, sales is a system, but it's also an art. It's also an art, and you can bring your own touch into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we're towards the
So in
end of
that
it.
sense,
These are the 3 main elements, as Alan and Jan mentioned, the transition from cold calling 1.0 to 2.0. The 3 main elements are: one is having a very well researched and well written opening sentence. Whether you have Power Dialer, whether you don't, whether you put it as a note in your in your CRM or whichever tool you're dialing from, doing that work beforehand will make a massive difference. The second thing is that, especially when we switched to this script, this structure, we took this from the book called Cold Calling Sucks by Nick Kagelski. This is based on analysis of 300 million cold calls. And what stands out here, as Jan and Alan highlighted, if you can make them feel this is not a spray and pray call, that you intentionally chose to call them, you've done your homework, and that's why you're calling them. That's why using these words specifically. It's a well-researched one. What prompted me to call you specifically? These words are magic. The structure, the order, you can vary depending on your markets, your segments, but having a clear point of view, having a very strong, well-researched opening line to use both the first time, and as Alan mentioned, once you've got the permission, the second time as well. If you keep those ready, those notes are in your system, and you're opening with those, what we are seeing is connection to conversations are doubling. Like for our team, uh, after switching to this structure, and of course, we had the unfair advantage of using Evabot to like auto-generate all of this. Our team is now averaging 45% connection to conversation rate. Think about what that means actually. Like on a random cold call, 1 in 2 people are talking to our team for more than 30 seconds. 1 in 3 people are talking to our team for more than 60 seconds. Just because the opening sentence is so strong, and they feel special that, yeah, this person really spent their time before calling me, and they're talking to a problem that is relevant to me and not pitching their solution up front. And if you can do that, that is making the biggest difference, in cold calling today.
That's sick numbers. I didn't know about that, Satwick. So thank you for sharing this. Really nice.
Of course. I know we've gone over a couple of minutes. Are there any questions? We will be sharing the deck and the recording later as well. We'll share some more resources and examples of the scripts that Evabot can generate, and you can look at them as examples, whether you do it manually or with AI. Any questions, anybody, before we let Jan and Alan go?
I think I just put all like Satwick, your LinkedIn account into it. So please feel free to connect, right? You're all taking your private time out to learn more. And I think that's always a great atmosphere and really great people to connect with. So make sure also in the group, and like we are 22 people right now, make sure to connect amongst, like Leo, connect with Tim, like, use this. I remember when I was sitting in those webinars, and they're really great people, and I've really made great friends, just like Alan. So use that and connect with each other and chat about it. And that's my call to you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Alan, for sharing, practical experience that you guys have and practical tips for this. This is so fun, so useful.
Yeah. To finish this, I I just got the message that the deal was signed as well, and it was also cold
That is
call
the
a
best way
couple
to
of
end
months
the
ago.
call. Yeah.
So
Everything started with a cold call.
It's really nice, right? And I won that deal because I called the guy, and the competitor didn't. So I think it's a sweet end of this presentation.
So
So yeah,
cool, so cool.
thanks for taking the time. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.